After several years of organizing and coordinating surgical medical brigades in Cadereyta with teams of doctors and nurses from a church in the US, I felt there was more I could do, especially as the number of patients increased from year to year. Though I did some translating and helped out here and there were also times I just stood around watching in the OR, wishing I could be of better use. So in the mid-90s, I enrolled in nursing school at the Accademia de Infermeria Florence Nightingale when I was in my mid-30s. I was the oldest student there at the time. Fortunately, I wasn't the only male student. There were 3 or 4 other guys. All the young students called me Tio, which means uncle. I loved it. We all studied hard and enjoyed practicing on each other, checking vital signs, giving injections, drawing blood, starting IVs, bandaging, splinting, and everything else. We practiced suturing using pig's feet we got from the local butcher. We did practical hands-on rotations at local Green Cross emergency clinics too. This was the real deal. Real hands-on nursing with real live patients. We treated all kinds of patients with all kinds of traumatic injuries and illnesses. I will never forget one case that was brought in by ambulance. The EMTs rolled in a male victim of a motor vehicle accident with head trauma. He had a severe laceration of the scalp, probably 10 inches long. Even though his skull was exposed, it did not appear to be fractured. The man was conscious and calm, and there was actually minimal bleeding. The doctor on duty looked him over briefly and then turned him over to me. I was just a second-year nursing student, but he asked me to not only clean up the wound, but actually close it up. Fortunately, the patient was already bald, which helped with what I was about to do. The doctor did not even supervise me as I irrigated the wound and disinfected it with iodine. I don't think I had ever actually sutured a laceration on a real live person before. I was about to start when the doctor stepped out of his office and told me not to use sutures, but to staple the wound closed. I know I had never used a surgical staple gun on a person before, but I had played with one, so I knew basically how it worked. First, I injected some lidocaine all along the edges of the wound to numb the tissue, then lined up the edges as best I could. It was so large I had to apply some strips of tape to hold it closed. Then I began stapling. Again, the doctor didn't even supervise. I was on my own. The first staple went in nicely and closed the wound perfectly, so I kept going. 2, 3, 4. I spaced them about a half-inch apart and applied close to 20 metal staples. When I finished, it actually looked pretty good. The wound was successfully closed. I put a dressing on the man's head while the doctor wrote him a prescription for some pain meds, anti-inflammatories, and antibiotics. The patient thanked us and went home. Somewhere in Mexico, there is a guy with an awesome scar on his head that could have been better, but maybe could have been worse too. I finished nursing school and actually graduated first in my class. I wasn't able to attend my graduation because we had just joined a mission organization that required my presence elsewhere at the time. Anyway, after nursing school, along with my EMT training, I was finally able to be involved in all kinds of medical missions, equipped with more knowledge and skills, and hands-on participation for many years. I got to scrub in and assist on many different surgeries, deliver babies, and even help save a few lives. What an awesome privilege and reward in itself to help heal others and alleviate pain and suffering, show compassion and give comfort to those in need, all in the name of the one who bore our griefs and by whose wounds we are healed. Thank you so much for listening to this true story from Memoirs of Mexico. If you enjoyed this story, or if it was a blessing to you, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. That would be a blessing to me. I upload a new true story every day. If you like to read, you can also order Memoirs of Mexico in paperback or ebook on Amazon.com. There's a link in the description. Thanks again for listening.